Hey guys, it's Nailbiter, and I wanted to follow up that T100 video I posted a few weeks ago. So I've got a replay here that I had with the T100 on Malinovka. As I mentioned, I think in the description of that video, in my opinion, the T100 is the best Tier 10 light tank in the game, and the best pure scout in the game. But I think the three replays I included in that other video were all more high damage games than high assist damage games or scouting or spotting damage games. So I wanted to post this replay to show the T100 in more of a scouting role, which is really what it excels at. So the main thing the T100 has going for it is camo. I don't remember the exact values, but the T100 has the best camo ratings among Tier 10 light tanks, and I think only the Sturv has a better stationary camo rating at Tier 10. And the T100 also has the best camo rating on the move among all Tier 10. So obviously those two factors are super important for scouting. It's going to allow you to both passive scout a lot more effectively and also move around the map a lot more effectively. On top of that though, what I like a lot about the T100 is it's also very low profile, which makes it a really difficult target to hit, particularly when it's on the move. And it's also got some pretty troll armor actually, so you'll even bounce a few shots from time to time. And it's also more resistant to HE than a lot of other light tanks, so relative to other lights, it actually has decent survivability. Because of that, I find it's a tank that you can be a bit more bold in terms of the kind of scouting that you do. And so you'll see over the course of this replay, I often push the envelope in terms of what I think I can get away with. Anyway, as I said before, this game is on Malinovka, and what you'll see me do at the start here, and really over the course of this replay, is pretty standard, just field scouting. But I did want to highlight what I do, particularly at the start of the game, because Malinovka is one of the best maps in the game for scouting. It's a map where light tanks can have a lot of impact, unlike pretty much every other map in the game. So if you're a light tank player, you want to be able to take advantage when you get this map, and being able to effectively scout the field is a really important skill to have for a light tank player. So there are a bunch of different ways to scout the Malinovka field. But typically what I like to do from the north spawn at the start of the game is I'll do an active scouting loop down to about the corner between E4 and F5, depending a bit on how early I get spotted. And then once I reach that point, I'll swing back to the north and use the ridge along the edge of the swamp as cover, basically until I'm de-lit. So that's what you'll see me do here. And my goal here is both to light as many of the enemy tanks as I can before they disperse from their spawn, but it's also to get a sense of where the enemy light tanks are playing. There are two light tanks on each team in this game, and you'll notice that neither of the enemy light tanks are really playing opposite me in this sort of northeastern side of the field. The T-49 has gone really aggressive on the one line, and the Sheridan got lit still in the enemy base. So knowing that gives me a lot of freedom to basically do whatever I want in this area of the map. There really aren't any tanks here that are going to have any chance of spotting me unless I decide to shoot something. And you actually saw, just before I got into this passive bush, I did actually take a couple shots on enemy tanks that were heading toward the hill, knowing that the T-100's camo is so good, I don't really have to worry about getting spotted, because really the only tank that's in a position to potentially light me is that AMX AC-48 that's in F7 or so. Anyway, I've gotten into this bush here around F5. This is a spotting bush that I really like. It's a great passive spotting bush because it gives me vision over pretty much the entire middle of the map. I can spot tanks that are playing behind those buildings in the enemy base, like that low which just got disintegrated a second ago. And it also gives me great vision on the whole area overlooking this swamp. Now, a lot of times it can be a bit dangerous trying to get into this bush because if the enemy has more of a presence around F7 or D7, you'll often get spotted as you try to move forward. But in this game, because of that early active loop that I did, I saw early on that the enemy team was weak in the middle of the map, so I was pretty confident in this case that I wouldn't get lit. So I got a bit greedy there and decided to shoot that Victoria, even though I knew I would probably get spotted, which is what happens. Then I make a pretty stupid mistake here. This is actually an old replay. It's from just after that patch that updated the French TD line. And so at the time of this game, I didn't actually realize that the AMX AC-48 had been given an autoloader. So I stupidly stopped there out in the open after the AC-48 shot me once, thinking that he would have like a 7 or 8 second reload, when in fact he actually had 2 more shells in his clip. So I take 1200 damage in HP there, which is a terrible trade. But the AC-48 at least gets killed as a result. So again, once I go dark, I just make my way back to this spotting bush. In that situation, I actually don't think that taking the shot on the Victoria was necessarily the issue. At this point in the game, even though it's still pretty early, my team is in a great position to win because we have control over almost the entire map. So I felt like even if I lost, 400 HP for taking that shot, which is what I was expecting when I took the shot, it wouldn't really cost me later on in the game. Obviously, now that I'm a one-shot for pretty much anything in this game, I have to be a bit more careful, but even so, there's so much opportunity for using camo, or utilizing camo on this map, that having a lot of HP isn't really necessary in order to scout effectively. Now, at this point, it looks like my team should have no problem winning the hill. We have a pretty big advantage there just looking at the minimap. And we also have a full health E5 who's pushing toward D7, so I'm thinking that I'll just stay passive and wait for the game to develop a bit more. And then once my team wins the hill and takes control of the eastern side of the map, I'll start to push up closer to the enemy base and see if I can get a bit more spotting damage before the end of the game. So I put a shot there into the enemy Ferdinand. One thing I actually didn't mention earlier about the T100 is that even though the base dispersion of its gun is something like, I think, 0.45 or 0.46, which is really pretty bad, it actually has great gun handling. There's very little bloom on the move, and the aim time is only 2 seconds, so I've actually found that the gun performs pretty well, even though, based on its accuracy and pen for that matter, you would think that this tank would struggle to do damage. Obviously, I'm not really focusing that much on doing damage in this game, but I think in those other replays I posted a little while ago, actually, those are a pretty good demonstration of this tank's damage potential. Anyway, once that Ferdinand dies in around G7, I decide to start probing a little closer to the enemy base. I'm almost positive at this point that there's nothing in the east that could shoot me if I get lit, so I'm going to just use this ridge and kind of poke up periodically to see if I can light any of the tanks that are still in the enemy base. So I light that T-30 as he's trying to run away, and he gets caught out in the open. And the JPZ looks like actually hits a blind shot on the T-30, so I get a nice chunk of spotting damage there. I peek the ridge a second time, but since I don't spot anything, I decide to get a bit more aggressive. My main priority right now is to find that Foch B who is last lit around H5. So I decide to keep moving up through the swamp where I'm not really exposed to anything in the enemy base. And then when I get to around H6, I peek up again where I have vision behind that house where the Foch was hiding. As it turns out that the Foch actually relocates to the zero line, and at this distance I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to get lit even if I shoot, so I put a shot into the back of the Foch. I want to try to move toward the zero line and close the distance, but I have to be careful because I don't want to get lit on the open, obviously, where I could potentially get shot by the T-30 or Sheridan that are still in the southwest. So I'm being a bit cautious here and just staying on the edge of the swamp so that if I do get lit I can reverse down into the low ground where I won't be exposed. I spot the enemy Artie there, and I kind of reflexively took a shot at him. I wasn't totally sure if I would get lit there. But since I don't get spotted and the E5 takes out the Artie, I decide to push forward. I'm still trying to stay unlit for as long as possible, so you can see I'm trying to use this rock as cover from where the Foch was last spotted. But then the Foch gets lit running away on the zero line, so I just cut over to intercept him. And at this position, I don't really care if I get spotted because I'm pretty sure that I'm out of draw range of the Sheridan and T-30 in the enemy base. So I put a tracking shot into the Foch, which he actually repairs, so my second shot, I don't have a great angle on him, and I only track him for no damage. But I do get a little bit more assist damage off of him. So now it's just a matter of moving back to the south and finishing off that Sheridan T-30. So that's pretty much the end of this replay. It ended up being a straightforward game for the most part. As I was talking about earlier, the enemy team didn't really contest me at all or put any pressure on me in that swamp area, which made it pretty easy for me to basically just do what I wanted this game. I got quite a bit of early spotting damage, and then I was able to just passive spot from that bush in F5 for a while. And then even though I lost a lot of HP to that AMX in the middle of the game, it didn't really end up costing me anything. I could have maybe been a bit more aggressive here in the end game, but I still ended up with over 8,000 assist damage, and I actually get a few shots here at the end of this T-30, so I get almost 3k damage, although I think I took a few blind shots that didn't show up on the damage panel, so about 3k damage as well. So a really nice game with the T100. The T100 is a great tank. It's a lot of fun to play, and if you're at all a fan of scouts, it's definitely worth going after this tank. So anyway, there's the end of the game. The T-30 ends up drowning himself, and now I'll show you the post-game stats. It looks like I ended up with about 3,300 damage to go along with the AK assist damage, so not surprisingly I got an ace tanker out of this game. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'd wanted to do another commentary about the T100 because it's really a very fun tank to play. And so hopefully this video gave you a bit of a sense of what I like about the T100 and also how I approach scouting the field on Malinovka, because being able to effectively scout on Malinovka is definitely a good skill to have, particularly if you're a scout player. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.